Hey, Nation, Harry here. We're going around the horn, and we're back with Frank Ohlhorst out of the New York City area. And I reached out to Frank to kind of lift my spirits, cheer me up. I'm back in Seattle in the gray and the rain, and Frank, I might even have to use my little indoor bike today instead of being outdoors. And so I talked myself into a funk, in part based on some research I did earlier this week. I've been talking to MSPs and getting a feel for what's going on out there. And we have one in particular in the state of Alaska who reported with the challenges they have with the low price of oil, the obviously COVID-19, the cruise ship season is in peril, and maybe even the fishing industry. He has a client who's a fishing lodge who cut back from 3 supported machines for his MSP services down to 2. That's a 33% reduction. Frank, if you blow that out from a macroeconomic point of view, that's devastating. And so I want to talk about that, but then, you had, as we talked off camera, you had some ideas that maybe we're seeing new opportunities created. So first of all, let's talk about the contraction. Are you hearing that from MSPs and ISVs? Are they seeing node counts go down? What are you hearing?
Yeah, I'm actually hearing that from a few different MSPs that I know, that, they're being impacted by the reduction in services that are needed by some of their clients, especially those folks that support the retail sector are really seeing a big contraction. Those that I know that support restaurants and whatnot in the area, it's not as bad because most of the restaurants have switched to a, curbside to go type of model. So they're still, using their point of sale systems, and they're relying on their web presences a lot more, and their integrations with Grubhub and things like that. So the node count really hasn't changed on those particular clients, except for, restaurants that purely didn't do any type of takeout or delivery. Some have just completely shut down, which I find kind of interesting. In my area, the restaurants that are impacted the most seem to be all the Chinese food restaurants. They've all shut down, and it's interesting. The reason why most of them have shut down is because of fear of how they're going to be treated with, everyone saying, COVID-19 came out of China, they're calling it the China virus and everything like that. So there's a different reason that they're reducing contact to people. That said, other sectors are impacted quite a bit, and some MSPs are struggling based upon the verticals that they deal with, while others are finding new opportunities or are planning for the challenges that are going to come when the economy reopens.
Interesting. Yeah, do you have any data points on that? I mean, and again, I'm glad we got together because I just needed I needed some Frank time to get a little skip in my step. So what are you hearing of some opportunities that might not come to, be top of mind?
Well, right off the bat, I'm actually doing a little bit of research over at the Accelerated Strategies group on, what we're going to see happen and change as businesses come back online. Let's take retail, for example. Now, retail is heavily vested in IT, of course, not only for point of sales, but for, order processing, accounts payables, receivables, supply chain, and all of that. Now, retail, when it comes back online, is going to have to shift its focus a lot and consider, all right, how do we execute on point of sale? Do we have to set up our point of sale systems to keep, social distancing in effect? How do we handle stocking? How do we handle, hanging things back up on, the displays, like clothing and whatnot? What type of safety measures do we have to implement? The list goes on. All of these challenges that are going to be faced by these businesses when they reopen. And so everything from the supply chain to HR, making sure the employees are properly educated in these new situations.
Well, and benefits and employee benefits in this time of transition. But go on.
Yep. And to add that too, and also, more stricter inventory controls, and of course, adapting point of sale systems to be able to work with, they might order it online and come into the store to pick it up, as opposed to just being that face-to-face transaction. Now, larger chains and all that have kind of got that technology down. But when you get to the mid-market and smaller retail establishments, this is technology they do not have. And without that technology in place, they're going to be hard-pressed to come back up online. So that presents a huge opportunity for MSPs out there. The other opportunity for MSPs comes in the form of, this whole remote work from home, and, these situations, which have highly stressed out existing IT systems, especially those folks that rely on VPNs. With VPNs, VPNs were originally envisioned as a way for someone to connect quickly, do a few things, and get off. Or,
that's how I started with them.
Yeah, or to have, emails synchronized with your Exchange server, things like that. Now, what people are doing is that they're leveraging all remote control apps to access their applications on their machines that are in their offices. Now, the problem that's happening is that VPNs are starting to fail under the load. The other issue is that, for each active user, concurrent user, you need a license. So you have these businesses having to invest in licenses, which are not on-demand based. It's like I have to buy a license for a whole year for this one particular employee for something that might be a 3-month, occurrence. The other thing they're running into is, problems with infrastructure when it comes to bandwidth. Remote control takes a lot of bandwidth. So perhaps maybe the time has come to start looking at web apps. Let's take a medium-sized business that's invested in Microsoft Office, and they run an Exchange server. You know what? Now's the time for Office 365 or M365 and get them off of that legacy type environment, which is tied directly to hardware in an office location. Now, I'll give you another example of that. My son is working remotely, working through a VPN, using a remote control to access his machine in his office. The office is completely locked down. Their IT support is out of India. So he runs into situations where his machine will lock up and he can't reset it because the hard drive is encrypted using BitLocker. So there's no one there to type in the password for BitLocker to bring the machine back up, because you can't have the remote control connection while BitLocker is booting up. So when he has a problem with the machine and it has to be rebooted, he has to contact tech support in India, who then has to contact somebody here, who then has to arrange for someone to go into the office to reboot the machine.
God.
So, he loses half a day or a whole day of work. The company still has to pay him, of course. And let's use that situation as a sales angle for an MSP. Are you running into these problems supporting a remote workforce? How much productivity is being lost?
Yeah.
Maybe it's time to rethink the whole paradigm. So there's opportunity for a lot of things, and it goes on and on, not only replacing VPNs, but also into the whole cybersecurity realm, multi-factor authentication. I mean, the list goes on and on of the elements that can be targeted for businesses that will want to further adopt this remote work model, because other businesses are learning from, the situation that in many cases worker productivity goes up.
Yeah.
A remote work from home situation. The one thing they feared that wouldn't happen, it's actually productivity is going up, and more work is being done, and they're reducing their operational overhead because they don't have to, pay for a butt and a seat in an office.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I
there's a
agree.
lot there.
Yeah, I agree. Early in my career, as I was transitioning to tech, but Frank, I had a couple of stints over in the commercial real estate side and property management and lending, and yeah, and it wasn't for me. Okay, and it wasn't for them. It was suggested I go and seek a new career in technology, so I agreed. But what's interesting is we are having a fundamental societal reset with respect to the idea of leased office space and so on. Because Frank, there's this idea. I'm in a home office, have been for several years. The basic question when my lease expired back in 2014, we went large, and then we went home. And the point is, why would Jenny and I and SMB Nation have office space? And so to your point, there's going to be new opportunities. I do feel bad for my friends in commercial real estate. I do think that's going to be a fundamental reset, my friend.
But, on the flip side, yeah, there'll be a fundamental reset in real estate. But on the flip side, housing prices are going to come down and interest rates are at near historic lows. So there might be a different type of opportunity in the real estate market.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, Frank, thanks for bringing some sunshine into my dreary day back in Seattle. I can always count on you. I got a skip in my step. I'm going to take steps two at a time, like any New Yorker would. Have a great day, and sir, we'll talk to you next month.
Yep. Take care, and thank you for having me, Harry.
All righty.